bad if I just fell asleep. If I turn off my alarm and just continue sleeping.
And then just wake up to me being like,
here.
Pagan.
Yeah, Pagan, are you okay? Hello, Pagan. Pagan, are you okay?
Pagan.
It's Snake. Snake.
Dun, dun,
Nathan! Ow.
What?
Pain in my side.
Did somebody just shiv you?
Someone shivved me. No. It was a shank and twist.
Your chair just bit you?
Ow.
This is where we
It's
started
supposed to
the
protect me. It's a Batman chair. Rude. Okay.
Pain is part of the process.
Fucking sore.
Just like battering.
Fucking sore. Yeah, it's sort of those stabbing pains in your side. You know when you get them stabbies?
You know those stabbing pains?
You know the
feel?
stabbies. Yeah, you know the stabbies.
Everybody
gets the
right?
stabbies. Yeah. Everybody gets the stabbies.
Those old stabbies.
Please confirm.
Yeah, everyone's like,
That's a normal thing, right?
Hell, the stabby. no, but yeah, no, I was joking. You know, just silly Pagan.
Jokes. Kidding. Dies an hour later. The stabbies, the ghost stabbies.
The ghost stabbies.
Ghost stabbies.
Okay, are we writing the script? I guess we're writing the script. So
I guess
far,
we're writing the script now. It's the ghost stabbies.
It's the ghost stabbies.
An hour after getting ghost stabbies, you just die. It's like the sign that you're gonna die. People have an hour to figure out how to live.
Or serious horror.
Dark comedy,
Serious
obviously.
Comedy.
Serious comedy. Dead serious.
No.
Comedy.
It's got to be so
Dead.
bad and serious that it's funny.
You can't fake that.
Meryl.
It just happens.
That's true.
I got the ghost stabbies.
Shit. I've got
the ghost stabbies.
That's the title of the movie.
You know when
That's
you
the
get those
movie.
stabbies on your side. I don't know why
Yeah.
I turned him into
That's the ghost. Yeah, just the ghost stabbies. Someone's
Anyway.
gonna die in an hour.
This is no longer a
maybe.
podcast. This is now just a pitch meeting of us coming up with movie
Ghost
titles.
I'm fine with it. Like horror movie titles that make no sense. Ghost stabbies.
And it ends up being a really, really good movie. Like,
Yeah, we go to the Oscars and everything. Listen, this is our
The
career.
winner
It just-
is-
it takes off.
Ghost
It just
stabbies.
takes off. Yeah.
why did
It's
you
the
name
first
it Ghost
horror
Stabbies?
movie to get an Oscar for everything. It's gonna be
For
great.
everything.
It's gonna
Yeah.
beat out.
Yeah,
Like,
the
all of
interview is
those-
gonna be like, how did you come up with the subject? No, it's a long story.
It
Paying
really
ghost
is.
You know,
stabbies.
when you get the ghost stabbies.
You know how everybody gets the ghost stabbies, right? And the interviews are like, yes. And you're like, yeah, great.
Exactly.
So it's those.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how it started. And that's what we
Clearly.
part two. And we ruined the whole thing.
Every press interview is just gonna be like, it's a ghost stabbies movie, and they're gonna ask us loads of questions like, and how did you, and this
But
and that, and
Ghost
every
Stabbies.
time your answer is just gonna be, it's
Ghost
a movie about
Stabbies.
ghost stabbies.
It's the Ghost Stabbies. You
It's
know.
a serious comedy.
It's super seriously funny.
Oh my God, I hate that I love it.
I know
You
you
gotta be careful. This is how I write scripts.
Write
you
it
know?
down.
It's a challenge. Where
Write it,
something
baby.
Writing.
stupid, and I'm like, I'm gonna make that. I'm gonna make that into something.
Perfect.
While you're doing that, I'm gonna say, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the Replayer Podcast. I'm including
Hi.
all of that, by the way.
You better.
You should. Fuck you guys. That's copyrighted already, right? Myself and Louis have claimed it.
Ghost
We've
Stabbies.
owned it.
Stabbies.
We own the ghost stabbies, right? You all
Trademark
fuck
pending.
off. You get your own cool shit. So no.
If you try to steal it, you're gonna get stabbed by a ghost.
Yeah, if you try to steal it, the ghost stabbies will get you.
Welcome,
then-
visual listeners, to Ghost Stabbies, the
Yeah.
podcast.
It'll get you in the most inconvenient times as well. Middle
Well,
of the
yeah,
interview,
clearly.
middle of your sex marathon or
You'll be
whatever
in
fuck
the
you're
middle
doing
of
at
it,
home.
like, and then, oh,
Yeah, and it's
Ghost
just like,
Stabbies.
ghost stabbies, and your partner's gonna be like, "That's not a real thing," and you're like, "Yes, it is. It's
I'm
this movie.
dying.
I
of
heard
Ghost
it on a
Stabbies
podcast.
now.
This movie." Yeah. I've heard it on this really serious medical podcast.
Oh, but then you'll get that like down the road.
It's
You'll be
cancer.
like, "Do you know about the Ghost Stabbies? Shh, we don't talk about the Ghost Stabbies."
I fully expect in like at least 15 years, kids are gonna be like, "Yo, bro, did you ever hear about the ghost stabbies?" Like a fucking like a
Like a Slender Man of the day.
yeah. Like around the campfire, they're like, "Let's talk about the ghost stabbies." Stabbies. And you're like, yeah, it's fucking nice. Some popcorn and everything.
Ghost
And in
Stabbies
the middle
sounds
of
like
your
an
bite, you get the Ghost
STD.
Stabbies.
I'm just gonna say it. That's what it sounds like. Sounds like
It
an
probably
STD.
is. That's what it is. It's ghost
where-
STDs.
It's where it feels like something is stabbing your genitals, but there's nothing there.
You've been assaulted by the ghosts.
The Ghost Stabbies.
So it's basically you're being raped by a poltergeist.
The problem is, like,
Jesus.
usually the Ghost Stabbies happen in the
I'm
ribs.
sorry, I got too real.
Yeah.
Not too real. I didn't go
It
that
feels
hard.
like it's being. It
feels
feels
like
like
you're being
something's.
pricked by little stabbies, but on your
Yeah, it
genitals.
feels like the ghosts are shanking you in the ribs, more like, take that.
We had a
Very good.
plan for this podcast.
There's no plan for the podcast. It's never a
Never.
plan for podcast, Dan. Don't lie.
Well,
They
welcome,
know.
visual listeners. With me is, of course, is Pagan. She's back after some breaks.
Hello. Hi there.
And
Whatever else you say. Hello.
those things.
Hi,
And
I'm
also
Louie.
Hi,
Hey,
Louie.
Louie. I was
I'll
gonna
take
try
care
and
of
do
this.
like hello in multiple languages, and then I just ended up with hi, hello, hi there.
Hi.
All English, if you didn't know.
Several different English variants of
Yeah.
hello.
Yeah.
And you were
Hello.
going for multiple languages?
I was trying. My brain doesn't work. Libby, we've
ghost stabbies,
established
man.
this.
The ghost stabbies.
It's
They.
the fucking
ghost
ghost
stabbies.
stabbies, man.
It's like
takes it-
syphilis, and it rots your brain.
We're just gonna keep going back. to
Dan
this.
knows.
I know all about them ghost stabbies. He lives right up here.
No, that's so scary. I'm never coming to your house. Like, I'm sorry. Dan was like, in typical white fashion, Dan was like, we have a ghost in this house. And I'm like, cool. And you still live there? Yes. Sweet. Sounds about white. Why? Why would you do that? You admit that you're like, yeah, we have a ghost in this house. I'm
He
like,
doesn't bother
cool.
anybody. He keeps Lexi occupied at night.
Okay,
No,
that's
that's a fucking horror story.
actually that's fine.
No.
No. Pagan, you don't understand how important it is to have the child shut up for a few hours at night. I don't care who it
Even
is.
let ghosts.
It could be Satan himself going like, "Oh, the child will soon be mine." It's like, whatever. If you could put her to sleep, I don't fucking care.
Her soul will be mine.
Shut her up for a couple hours. Well, yeah, God.
Just like, I don't care. Is she quiet? Okay, thank you, Satan. Go to bed now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm going to attempt to segue into our discussion this week.
All right. Yes.
That's not ghost stabbies.
Or Satan.
Upsetting, honestly.
But-
Or the babysitter, Satan.
The announcement
or
of
Satan babysitter.
PlayStation games for the new PlayStation Premium service. And that they're getting PlayStation 1 games with trophy support.
Hey, that's kind of cool.
Which, yes, I agree. Trophy support for old games is pretty cool. There's
Mhm.
never been a better reason to make me try and play an old game than to have trophies. Because then it'd be like, cool, I'm going to play that game again and I get trophies. I'm down
Bragging
for it.
rights.
Cool. Yeah.
That is kind of cool, though. Like, I think that it's rewarding to play a game again, not only just for the nostalgia, but now you get trophies, and that will like really appeal to some completionists as well.
I mean, it's
Oh,
work
yeah.
whenever a game gets remastered or remade, especially like,
Yeah.
like say like the Crash Bandicoot games. Like I'm like, oh, I get to play Crash Bandicoot and get trophies for playing these games I used to play 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So it kind of like harkens on that nostalgia. But yeah, especially
Well,
like
we're-
something like Siphon Filter got trophies.
Well, we're
Second
on
Filter's
it though.
great.
Crash Bandicoot's not going to be included in this, is it? Because it's technically an Xbox property now, or
Yeah, technically.
so.
Microsoft owning Activision Blizzard, which owns Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah.
That's
So
true.
I guess they're not going to. They're not going to
Maybe.
be on. It's not gonna be on PS
Microsoft
Plus.
likes to play ball, though. with a
Very
lot of
true.
things.
Unlike
So
Sony.
they might be like, yeah, sure, you can have Crash Bandicoot on your old platform that the game originated from, if the price is right.
Yeah, I feel like
I was about to
Sony's.
say, like when you say that Microsoft likes to play ball, the only thing going through my head is that that second where they're talking to Mr. Krabs, like, hello, Mr. Krabs, can you tell us what it is that you're thinking
Money.
about? Blah blah blah. I like money. Like that's all.
Why did you decide to open a Krusty
Fair.
Krab too? I like money. And
Yeah,
you
fair.
opened it right
Money.
next to the first Krusty Krab. Why'd you do that? I like money.
I actually just saw it too. I was watching it the other day.
I feel
I'm
like
an adult.
that is just taking like the interview with somebody who owns a Starbucks and putting it into SpongeBob.
Yeah.
Because the Starbucks is like, you'd be 6 Starbucks next to each other. Like, why did you do that? Money.
Honestly,
I like money. You're like,
honestly,
well, that's
I just got a Starbucks. But here's the funny thing. It's the only one near me. And it just happened.
That's fair. I
But
don't
it's
have
been
one at
like
all.
yeah, exactly. Like, for however many there are all over the place, there was never one near me. So I don't have the hankering for it. But I understand it. I get it.
They're doing this thing now, like especially up in Dublin, I've noticed where they have one on either side of the street. So you don't have to cross the street.
That's
to
a
get
very
there.
American thing.
Yeah. Well, Starbucks. So yeah.
Well,
but
it's
I
like,
have yet to have one in Wexford. And until we have one, we're not like there yet, Like we recently just got like a bubble tea place and we're like, ooh, bubble tea.
By the way, I want to point out that this discussion went from
it always veers to
Ghost
food.
Stabbies
Always
to
veers
being
to
on
food.
point, and now we're at Starbucks.
Yeah,
You're
sorry.
not.
So essentially, Crash Bandicoot is not going to be.
How many Walgreens do you have on every corner?
Okay, now I do have a Walgreens that's right on the edge of the street, and then there's another one over there on the edge of the street, and then there's one down there. So yeah, that one. Yeah,
I've literally seen a 4-corner intersection with a Walgreens on either opposite corners. Like, why?
That's a supermarket, though, isn't it? Walgreens.
no,
It's a drugstore.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyways,
with a lot of drugs.
Nice. I mean, it's a drugstore, isn't it? Like, does what it says on the tin.
I mean,
just like Crash Bandicoot, he's a bandicoot who
not
crashes
wrong.
into things.
Back on subject.
Trying to
That was a
segue.
great segue.
It's so close to a segue. It
Speaking of
smells
drugs,
kinda like
Crash
it.
Bandicoot.
I was going to say, of those games on the list, I'm particularly excited for the Siphon Filter news because Siphon Filter is a great PS1 game.
Oh yeah,
I
fantastic.
highly recommend playing it. It having trophies gives all the more reason to go back to it. And I didn't realize until I was looking into this that Siphon Filter was actually developed by Sony Bend. Like, holy shit, that was like one of their first big games. And then they went on to make Days Gone. And then there's the rumors that they're possibly working on either, is it the Last of Us remake or an Uncharted spin-off? Those are the rumors flying around.
It's an Uncharted spin-off.
Yeah, or something along those lines. Because Bend Studios also did Uncharted Golden Abyss, the PS Vita game.
Right.
Which, again, was like, oh, all right, cool. Like full circle on that. That also led me to look into original Xbox games, hopefully getting achievement support. And that was another thing that we were looking into with the news beat about Sony's PlayStation 1 games getting trophies. And it's like, cool, Xbox, where are achievements for original Xbox games? Because they're all about backwards compatibility, but haven't done the backwards achievements yet. Which is funny because I have a story on that. Just last week, I saw on the Xbox Rewards program, they do these weekly and daily and monthly things of like, do this, get points, and then use those points to get money and enter sweepstakes and things. But they had a particular card for earn an achievement in any of these 10 games that feature animals. Among those games was an original Xbox game that doesn't have achievements. And I thought, why the hell is that there? To the point where like I actually installed the game and loaded it up and checked to see, did they add achievements? Oh shit. Did they do this like secretly without telling anybody? Sure enough, there's no achievements.
Oh.
And it's like, okay.
Bummer.
Why? So I tweeted Xbox. I'm like, why is Blinks the Time Sweeper on this card for earning an achievement? And Xbox was like, we see you have a problem. How can we help you? And that's the response.
How long do you have, Xbox?
And I said, this is in regards to my tweet about the Blinks game being on Xbox Rewards. And they're like, if you're having a problem with Xbox Rewards, reach out to the Xbox Rewards support team. And I went, never mind.
The robot. That's just scripted. Yeah. I like that it takes the time to ask you what seems to be the trouble there, patron? And then you tell it the problem. It's like, you should bring that to Xbox. Like, that's why you're here.
Yeah, it's like, well, yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't. Can you like, I don't know, make what are those called again? Like the ticket number, so I can get this solved instead of me having to go over their asshole.
That's kind of like what they sent me to. They sent me a link to like submit a ticket request as if I was having like a support issue, and I'm like, no, I want to know why Blinks is on here. Are you adding achievements? Is this a leak? Like, what's going on? And I haven't seen anyone else talk about it. I haven't seen any other games journalists, games media. No one has mentioned this. Like, why? Is it just a flub? Did somebody back on the Xbox switchboard went, oops, I hit Blinks?
Probably.
Dan, I think that you are the person to take that, take it to the highest court. Make everyone know.
Listen, Phil Spencer, I demand answers.
Guys, Blinks. Let's talk about this.
I want Blinks to have achievements.
No, yeah, I'm honest about it. Like you should really like follow the whole protocol. Make a ticket for it. Just be like,
there's no way.
I have unless it's like a big petition full of original Xbox games right here that I would gladly play through to get those achievements.
True.
Especially like Ninja Gaiden Black. I would play Blinks. Blinks was awesome, actually. If no one's ever played it.
I have not. But then again, I'm relatively new to
it's on Game Pass.
Yeah, I haven't played games in ages.
Yeah, I know. It's like if you can play a game.
But I will. I really loved Game Pass. Like, and I do still love Game Pass. I will.
If my
wait a minute.
Die every 5 seconds.
This game?
Blinks. It is an OG Xbox game, so
it looks very familiar. So maybe I haven't played it, but maybe I've seen somebody else play it.
Is that Blinks with an X or
with an X?
With an X, yeah.
BLINX.
Yeah, it might have been someone else's house, I guess.
Oh, I know it, but I never played it.
Right? It seems so familiar.
Yeah, like, you're right. It's one of those that like you go through your friend's library and you're like, oh, that game looks kind of cool. They're like, yeah, go play it. Like, we're not gonna play that.
It was very much like Xbox's attempt at a mascot platforming game back in the day, and it was pretty good. It was solid.
That's good.
The cool guy, kind of.
The cool guy.
He looks great.
He's an animal, so that's 1 point.
Exactly.
He's got an attitude, obviously. Look at him. Look at those
anthropomorphized feline character.
Whoa.
Just like Crash.
Yeah.
That was the rage back then. Anthropomorphized character.
It was.
Gex, Crash Bandicoot, Sonic.
Sonic, yeah.
That was the whole thing. I mean, Bugs Bunny was like, the grandfather for all of that. And he was put through like so many what are they calling them, like focus groups and stuff like that. Like Bugs Bunny was not an accident. He's that cool for a reason. Like they really did their homework on him, which is kind of sad. It's like, oh, well, I always like Daffy more, if I'm honest.
Daffy Duck.
I always like Daffy.
Great.
I like classic Daffy over newer Daffy, if you know.
New. I don't even like it. I don't really like any.
I don't know any of the new stuff. I only know like.
Well, I
only know like my like reiterations of like earlier cartoons. So like the cartoons that came out and whenever like this.
Well, I'm even talking about the original Looney Tunes. In the original Looney Tunes, there are two forms of Daffy. There was the Daffy before he started interacting with Bugs Bunny a lot, and then there's the Daffy after. The original Daffy was the I'm crazy, do like just going bananas, and he bugged the shit out of people, and he's hilarious. And then there's the Daffy who's just crazy jealous of Bugs Bunny all the time, and just is constantly trying to fuck with Bugs and trying to get Bugs killed. And that's the Daffy I don't like.
Yeah, that's fair.
I like the old crazy Daffy.
I fucking love Looney Tunes though, man.
So good.
Oh yeah,
it's so good. We actually watched.
I watched all of it on HBO Max.
We watched something for Christmas. I think there was like a Christmas special or something like that, and then we watched a Christmas special of like Tom and Jerry or something at work in Wayfair, and I was like, that is class. Like I love my job. Like we all got together and like in like a not in work, like we all, it was a Christmas time. I think it was like the Christmas Eve shift or something. So like at 2:00 we all finished our shifts, and then we stayed for like an hour to share like this kind of stuff, and then we went home. I was like, oh, it's class. Anyway, how did we get here?
I have no idea.
Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah. Blinks.
Blinks is the ghost stabber. That's how we got here.
Blinks, the ghost stabber.
The Stabbies.
Oh no.
Lord.
The ghost
I'm bringing
sweeper.
it back.
The ghost sweeper. If anything, Blinks is like the hero against the Ghost Stabbies. Like hunting.
Oh, no, I was gonna say
he sweeps the ghosts.
No, the only one who can do that is Luigi. Come on, he's got the technology.
But
you make excellent points.
To be fair,
excellent points, sir.
Blinks came out before Luigi, and he also had a magical vacuum that worked very similarly to Luigi's. He
does have a magical vacuum, but Luigi's got like a whole mansion and shit. So I feel like he's had experience.
The poltergeist. Mario. Yeah. God, I love like Luigi's Mansion. It's so good.
Yeah. If they came to an interview, you'd be like, and based on your experience, Blinks, how do you deal with supernatural beings, specifically ghosts who stab people?
The stabbies.
They would be like, but Luigi would have so much experience. It's like, well, I got a whole house full of fucking ghosts. And you're like, yeah, sold. You got the job, sir. Wait, are they still all there? Yeah. So you haven't hunted them at all? He's like, maybe I shouldn't give you this job. Like, maybe you shouldn't be here.
He typically puts them into paintings. That's what happens to the ghosts. That's kind
of cool. Also a little fucked up, but okay.
Like, I mean, at least they're living. So, wait a minute. If he's putting them in paintings in a Mario 64, you jump into paintings.
Mm-hmm.
Was Luigi really the bad guy the whole time?
I feel like it is this way. Yeah.
Did I just crack this code?
It is sounding like that, friends. Yes.
It's like the Nintendo Da Vinci Code.
Right. It was here all along. We just didn't see it.
You just see me thinking there's like a vacuum.
To try to come back to the core conversation.
I'm sorry. Yes.
The whole notion of the PS1 classic games coming to the new PlayStation collection is really cool. There's only a handful of games that are announced so far, and only half of them, I think, have been confirmed with trophy support. And it's like, is that adding enough value to justify the extra cost? Because I believe the PS1 games are only available if you have the premium tier PlayStation package.
Truth.
How much is the premium anyway? I don't have a PlayStation right now.
I think that's the one that's $18 a month.
Yeah, something like yeah. Let me see.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's like a $10 tier, there's a $15 tier, and there's an $18 tier.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's like, I guess in the vein of like what Nintendo's been doing, because Nintendo's got their whole like classics thing that you get with Nintendo Online. The core Nintendo Online is like, okay, it's $20 a year, plus I get to play Nintendo and Super Nintendo games. Cool. But then they added on like the expansion pass where it's like $70 a year. But you might get to play a janky version of the Nintendo 64 game.
Right. Yeah. I don't play a lot of these games though. Like I don't think I have played a lot of these games. So I'm just wondering like I might have just been sheltered enough. Like there are just games that I used to play.
Well, here's a question for you, Pagan.
1. Yeah.
Someone who doesn't have the nostalgia for these games.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself going back to play them?
Probably not.
Gotcha.
Yeah, probably not. I think I would only play games that are PlayStation 1 or 2 for nostalgic reasons, unless I was going to make content about something specific and starting from the beginning, which would be in the PlayStation 2 era. So yeah, would I randomly scroll through some PlayStation games and try to play them? No, because I don't think the experience is going to be as good. The controls are going to be janky. The graphics are going to be terrible. Without having the nostalgia behind it, I would get too frustrated.
Yeah,
playing it.
It's understandable.
But the only thing I would say is like with the PlayStation 1 games, my experience had been pretty limited. And like my childhood, I was only interested in certain
What was
games.
the PS1 game you loved? Was it a Barbie game or something?
Yeah, it was like Barbie Super Sports or something. It was so good.
There's a throwback to old
podcasts. So, and I had like SX Tricky, and I had Tony Hawk, I think was a PlayStation 2 game, right? Or was it PlayStation 1?
It started on PS1, yeah.
I think we had that on 1 as well. So we had PlayStation, so Tony Hawk, SS Tricky, Barbie Sports, sports games. We also had a basketball game that I never played because I was just not interested in it. And then Crash Bandicoot, of course. Interestingly, we had Dead or Alive, I'm pretty sure, on PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
And Crash Bandicoot, Dead or Alive, and Harry Potter. Those were like my childhood games. And to be fair, like we didn't spend a lot of time indoors anyway playing games. It was we were always outdoors until we moved to Ireland, and then it was like, oh, the weather's shit here. So you could, I guess, be indoors. And then I would just be, I don't know, reading the Harry Potter books, or like I'd be reading or watching movies or something. I would be less inclined to play games. We did have the consoles, but just I wouldn't have the nostalgia for the amount of games that maybe somebody else has. Like maybe you guys have. Louis, were you into like PlayStation 1 games? Do you have a PlayStation 1 console when you were younger?
I miss the days that I used to be able to play as much as I did when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Like, man, and I you know, Dan's bringing up Siphon Filter. Yeah, that was one of the ones that, like, I was limited for a little while. I didn't have a memory card. But I
remember your Resident Evil story well.
Yeah, I had one disc for Resident Evil 2, and that was Claire. Oh. So, you know, I got to the point where I can blindfolded do that whole game. And I would get really good at those kinds of games too. And so one of them was Siphon Filter. And man, you know, like my cousin loved it because his name is Gabe Logan. So he was just like, yeah, I'm in the game. And I tried playing it recently. I forgot where I found it. Some kind of emulator. And oh my God, as long as they fix controls to modern day.
I can't imagine a third-person shooter on a PlayStation 1 nowadays. Like,
oh man. Like a lot of classics I think are really outdone. Not necessarily that they're just outdated because of graphics and all that. You can get by that. I just bought Final Fantasy VIII. Steam had it for like $2. I'm like, all right, obviously I need to have this, but there's no like, yeah, it still looks like crap. And then when you put it on a 4K, it looks way worse. So I'm having trouble with that one. I'm just putting it on my old laptop, and I'm putting the graphic settings to like 720. Like I can't do it.
I feel like that's where nostalgia can carry something like that in certain circumstances. Yes, like
I agree.
I can play the updated, well, the remaster of Final Fantasy VII, not the remake, or Final Fantasy IX. I think actually looks pretty good in the remastered version of it. But then like for me, if I go back to some of the older like Super Nintendo games or original Nintendo games, I'm just like, like I can't get past this unless it's a game I played a lot as a kid.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. But like that's what I was gonna say, is that like what I like about Final Fantasy is that it's so easy, so general. Squaresoft just had a very easy mechanic to move around the screen and to pick shit up. But then when you get something as complex, when for its day, Siphon Filter, it was just so bizarrely amazing because it was 3D. And you're really running around, and you're really controlling the camera, and you're really like, you can turn around over there and shoot that guy. But now, by today's standards, you can like that's second nature. Being able to look, if you play a game today that you can't look around, that's not a game. I'm sorry, I don't know what it is. You messed up somewhere. But like these old games, like they just don't hold up to today's standards. So if they can figure out a way to fix it, like I remember when they remastered, and it's the first time I saw a game fully be remastered, and that was Kingdom Hearts. That when they brought it back out, Kingdom Hearts 1.5, like it was a whole new game, an absolutely entirely new game. They fixed the graphics, they fixed the camera, because the camera used to be dog shit. It's not the best anymore.
It's still not great, but
it's still not great, but it's so much better. And the control that you had with it, and like that was the first time I saw a game remastered. And I needed it because now there's new bosses, now there's new this and there's new that. So they put in the core elements from the other games that came out, you know, so retroactively. And now no retcon, it didn't change that much, but it did add something. But if we're going to be going back to the classics, the only thing that I'm a little worried about is, am I so indoctrinated into modern day first-person shooters that I can't play Siphon Filter because it is so hard to get that mechanic back, you know? That's what I'm worried about.
I have a great example for that. Last year, I think it was last year, Xbox added Red Faction 2 to games with gold. And I was like, oh, Red Faction. Oh, I remember Red Faction. I love that game. Downloaded it, started playing it. None of the controls work like I'm used to for a first-person shooter game. None of the aiming, none of the mechanics. All the buttons are completely ass backwards. The aiming is inverted for some reason. I have to switch it from I had to switch it back to normal, like up is up, down is down. And like all the buttons were fucking all over the place. I had to spend an hour customizing all my buttons. And even then, it still felt weird to just move around and to play the game. And I'm like, this game's not that old. Like,
it really isn't. It's like what, maybe a decade?
Yeah, it was a PS2 Xbox original game, but the controls are so archaic feeling. Mind you, this is after Halo. Like Halo was the game that kind of standardized the two sticks on console. It was a mixture of Halo and I think Half-Life, both, but Halo was definitely the one that like really like this is how you play a first-person shooter on console.
Yeah.
So this game though, like it wasn't, it didn't have the same kind of controls as Halo. Then no, it just used.
It did its own thing, and like, D-pad. I mean, your controller had the two sticks at the time, but for whatever reason, they didn't. The way they established the control scheme, just especially if you're so like Louis said, indoctrinated to modern control schemes, it's just like you have an aneurysm trying to like reprogram your brain.
And that's like, that was my point earlier. Like, because I don't have the nostalgia on a certain game, like say Siphon Filter, I wouldn't be able to pick that up and play it and try and get through the mechanics of it, because without having the nostalgia to push you past through those hard or challenging times, I wouldn't bother then. I'd be like, no.
Especially because Siphon Filter probably in a sense looks and feels kind of like an Uncharted in its mechanics, but it probably plays way worse.
Yeah, just gonna take a guess, a wild guess that it probably says.
Yeah, well, you got to think when Siphon Filter came out on the PS1 controllers didn't have dual analog sticks.
Yes, yeah.
So the game probably operated in a sense of you move with the D-pad and maybe you aimed, or it was a lock-on function where you just kind of pointed him at people and then locked on.
Yeah. There was aiming.
No, there was a lock-on.
Yeah, I remember the lock-on.
It had the analog option. That was the thing.
If you had the analog controller.
If you had the analog.
Yeah.
But it was also, it still isn't like what it used to be. Like, I don't know if you tried playing not modern, but original. And Dan, you and I talked about this Resident Evil 5.
Yeah, like the old G DualShock 1.
Resident Evil 5 was so good.
I love Resident Evil 5.
Well, but here's the thing is that was even 4. You didn't really look around.
Mm-hmm.
When you moved the camera just moved around a bit and then it went right back.
Yeah.
So you still had to turn the guy to make him look over here, and then you can kind of aim around here.
Yeah.
So when they cleaned it up, they made it where now you're looking around rather than just keep the camera, and you had to be this little box. So that's what I'm talking about, is that's what the original Siphon was like. You couldn't really turn around to aim, but you could kind of make him look over there a little bit better so that you can get the guy in the corner as opposed to whatever.
Yeah.
Because he would lock on to whatever was closest. And what my cousin and I used to do, we thought was so cool, was we would just have the taser. And if you left the taser on the guy for too long, it would turn them on fire.
Yeah, it would burst them into flames.
Yeah. But it was also a silent kill. So you could stand in the middle of an area where nobody could see you. And you could just stand there and like you did these cool little turns and that kind of stuff. And so we would just.
I remember the movement in that game feeling good at the time back in the day. The way he ran.
And, like, funny though.
Yeah. And
like that's literally how he strafed. Like
yeah. And he didn't stop. Like he had a slow down. So you had a time when you were like chasing people and stuff like that. You had a time where you were going to stop. So there were still some kind of, little tiny things that at the time were so different that it made it stand out. That's why the game is so great today. But by today's standards, you're gonna be like, "Why did you stop? You fucking asshole! Like I was trying, you fell into where the cars are, and now you're dead. Of course you're dead. I stopped running." Like I don't know if people are gonna get that's part of it.
Yeah, true.
Like the tank controls in Resident Evil 2 and 1.
Yeah.
That's part of it. It's supposed to be difficult.
See, now,
way.
like, I've had that argument with people too, because I have massive nostalgia for the classic Resident Evil games, and I love them for it. But people who don't have that are like, I can't play those games. Those controls are terrible. And I'm like, I know, but that's part of it. That's what adds to the terror.
But
because you can't run away easily.
Yeah, I feel like, though, like if you've never picked up a PlayStation 1 controller, though, and you've never picked up a PlayStation 1 game, there's just no way you could play that. And I don't know, like, yeah, I don't know. I just don't think the average gamer would go back and play those unless they had nostalgia to push them past it. I don't know.
So you don't think that there's a component for new people to, or like an incentive for new people?
I think this is more niche for people like myself who are going to play these games for nostalgia reasons.
Yeah, I would agree, because I think like there's like with the PlayStation Plus, it's going to have so many other games as well, a whole bunch of catalog from PlayStation 3, 4, and 5. And I feel like going back to the PlayStation 3 game is less emotionally taxing just because like the controllers are not as bad. But going all the way back to PlayStation 1 game, like picking up a PlayStation 1 game and trying to do stuff, because a lot of it like didn't have dialogue, a lot of it was just text. I don't know if the consumer or the gamer now, being so spoiled with the technology we have now,
I guess
could just go back and continue to have focus for those kind of games or patience. But yeah, I guess it totally depends on who you are as a person, and if you like retro games.
Nintendo gamers at this point should be used to having to read. So
yeah. Nintendo gamers in general, I think, like especially people who were fans of the Nintendo way back when, if they're also fans of PlayStation, I'm pretty sure they'll be loving the PlayStation 1 games, and I have no concern about them picking up a game they've never played before in the PlayStation 1 category. But like, I don't know. I'm predicting that the average gamer is going to be like, oh, cool, I want to see PlayStation 1 titles that I've played in my childhood, and I'm going to replay those. I think it's just rare that those gamers would pick up a new title in PlayStation 1.
I might try something, and then I'll be like, yep, this is not fun. Goodbye.
I'm expecting that. But like I said, if it's a content thing, if people are going to create content around it, then there's something like to push them through those mechanics. Whereas if you're just going to do it for leisure, I feel like especially the brain and the condition that we've done today, where our attention span as a generation has shortened to about 7 seconds. So I feel like, especially with the new, like the revelations of TikToks and everything, it's now like shortening even less to maybe 3 or 4 seconds. And it's like, don't do that to yourselves, friends. Take time and touch grass, bestie. So I feel like the average gamer may just start losing focus and be like, you know what? I just can't with this game. I'm going to watch it on YouTube, because I want to see the story, but I don't want to play it. I feel like that's probably the veering action they will take. But I think when they announced that they were going to have the PlayStation 1 games and classics, I really do think that was for the nostalgic gamers, the people who were like, fuck yeah, I want to see all my PlayStation 1 classic titles.
It's probably to appease the I will say the mass population of what are the PlayStation fans who have been pining for backwards compatibility from PlayStation. But at the beginning of this generation with the PS5, Sony was all like, we're not worried about backwards compatibility. We're about looking forward. We don't care about the past. But then a bunch of people went, we want to be able to play our old games. Dude.
Yeah.
And Sony was finally like, fine, here's a few PlayStation 1 games.
Yeah,
God.
basically.
But I think
you're right.
I think a big factor as well is that old PlayStation games are not old Xbox games. Xbox has had one controller the entire time, one way of playing. PlayStation had, like, they kind of started that whole thing. So you're not like, that's why Nintendo, every literal Nintendo had a new everything, like one time it was a box, one time it was, just a flat screen. Now it
was a Trident.
Yeah. There was like every component, everything about, but the scheme was always the same for Nintendo. They made it very basic, which is you can move with this thumb and then you do things with this thumb and that's it. But PlayStation had to make the changes. It did something different from Nintendo. Then it added the analogs. Then Xbox mastered the analogs, and PlayStation had to bump up. So those old games aren't going to translate because there's no translation. The thing is, what I'm a little interested in, to what you were saying, Pagan, is that I'm interested to see. There's a lot of people doing a lot of independent games that are making them like old school games, and they're doing that for a reason. So I'm very interested to see how, when this becomes more available to everybody, how many people are going to go, well, let's go to the roots and let's see what it was really like back then.
Yeah.
And then if that's going to affect upcoming new indie developed games, because, you know, now we're getting we're reliving it. Maybe they're going to bring them back, but just influence them just a little bit more to modern configuration.
I think you're right. I think they'll take whatever the best is of that game. If they're going to take inspiration from it, they'll take the best of it, but they definitely won't be implementing the same PlayStation 1 mechanics, right? Like, we grew from that for a reason, because it's terrible. Like, most of the stuff you're trying to do is like, you're throwing controllers at the wall, like people are breaking shit. So I think I think you're right. I think if anything, they would take more inspiration from sounds. I love that. I think the most iconic or nostalgic thing about PlayStation 1 games is sounds.
The music that people had to develop on that old chipset.
Exactly. The music, the load up of PlayStation 1 itself, I mean, is iconic, you know, like, so I think that they're going to take more inspiration from the sounds rather than any like mechanical things or even graphic things, because I just think they can do that now better. So,
right. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I totally see what you're saying. Like, it could inspire a whole new version of indie modern where they're incorporating more nostalgic classic components.
It's actually some of the top indie games I look at are ones that are like, we're trying to recreate the nostalgia from fill in the blank game kind of thing. There's a lot of like indie Resident Evil knockoffs. Most of them are terrible.
Yeah, they've really made a comeback.
Yeah,
I've seen a few of them are also on my wish list for Steam, where they're like, these are tank controls. They're beautiful new graphics, but you are playing a shitty version.
A fixed camera, tank controls. Like, I have Tormented Souls I need to still play. I bought that.
That's exactly the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, Tormented Souls was the one that I played the demo of, and I was like, this is great. This feels like Resident Evil, but with bright, shiny graphics. So I gotta still play that one.
I just want to see what they're gonna do with Ghost Stabbies.
Yes, I would agree. I would like a feature of Ghost Stabbies.
That should be a feature.
He's gonna be.
It's like the grapple hook. It needs to be
one of the main villains. Ghost Stabbies.
Just in prime moments where an enemy is in your way and you're trying to figure out how am I going to get past this enemy. All of a sudden, they get the Ghost Stabbies. And they're distracted, and you can just sneak past.
This could be the first perfect, the genesis, if you will, of the Ghost Stabbies in video games.
I would agree.
If they could just do it well enough and do it right.
Because no one pulled off the Ghost Stabbies.
No one has pulled off the Ghost Stabbies correctly. That's right.
I am sure there are people listening who hate me for bringing it back.
Why would you do that?
Why would you do this?
We got by that. God, Louis, shut up.
Like, Dan worked so hard.
Just bring it back, and the fucking Ghost Stabbies. What can I say?
Well,
that was all Pagan. Just Ghost Stabbies.
It's my genius idea. I can't control genius. It just happens. You know what I mean?
You obviously can't control your body either because you're
of genius.
It was so sore. Fuck you, okay? The Ghost Stabbies are sore.
You know, when you get the Ghost Stabbies, I mean,
it was. It's like Ghost Stabbies. The audience knows.
Now they do, because we
you totally know what Ghost Stabbies are. You get them as well. I know you.
They feel our pain. Comments. Not your pain, but our pain.
I look like an old computer game.
Oh yeah, you're kind of right.
I like how the background has great graphics, and then I'm
for the visual listeners.
For the visual.
Oh right, I keep forgetting that there's visual. Yeah,
there's both.
There is both. Yeah.
So real quick, I just want to, if anybody is wondering what the hell is going on behind me, this is my niece when she was 5 years old. She was just they found a tank in the middle of the desert because we live in a desert. And we live in Texas, so they leave guns around. And so she was just walking away from the tank, and then somebody commented on my brother-in-law's picture that like it looks like she fucked that tank up. So we did.
It's a Photoshop of her like in a uniform.
With context, that is the funniest fucking photo.
She's
That's she's so good.
Yeah, she's just wearing like regular shorts and she's just walking away from a dead tank.
She's got like the 1,000-yard stare.
Yeah, like this isn't fair.
Amazing.
It's just an old tank in the middle of it. Of course, there's no explosion over there or anything. They just added all this stuff because somebody made mention.
That's fucking funny, dude.
It does make it
better. Yeah, the guy that did it is a professional graphics artist. And so when he did that, he was like I remember he told us he worked on it for like 2 hours. He was like, yeah, I couldn't get it that much better because the angles are a little off, plus the lighting. We're like, dude, this is what you like settled on.
That's awesome. That's a fucking good photo, man.
Until you pointed it out, I honestly thought it was a child in military garb.
Yeah, I mean,
I thought it was a meme from the internet.
No, it's
just your own personal meme.
That's own fantastic. Personal. This has been the background for my Facebook for literally about maybe 7 years, 8 years.
That is amazing.
It used to be a picture of. I've only ever had two. It was a picture of Morgan Freeman holding a thing of cotton candy.
Oh,
I don't know why.
Why not?
That's what it was. And honestly, then this happened, and I'm like, I'm never changing it.
Never.
It's so perfect. So how old is she now? That was 7 years ago.
She's 10.
Okay.
So she's 3 in this photo.
All right.
This is amazing. I can't wait until she's older and you show her this photo and ask her what she thinks of it.
Oh my God. Like I remember I sent it to my mom. I had no context, nothing.
No context to your mom.
Sent it to my mom.
Oh my God.
I don't understand. And I was like, yeah, that's good. That's good. Keep it there.
The only thing you need to understand, Mom, is Ghost Stabbies.
Objective achieved.
Now.
Yeah. That's her fucking up the Ghost Stabbies. She's the hero of. Yeah, that's it.
Now the Ghost Stabbies has turned into that movie where the soldiers are fighting like the paranormal enemies that they can't see or hear, and it just murders them. There's a movie like that. I forget what it's called.
Yeah, it's like Predator. Except when they're like fucking see-through.
No, I think I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah. I did actually ask you about it earlier, but I don't think we actually got her into it. Class.
Okay, well, we will talk for another 2 hours about horror.
Yeah, we should wrap things up here and move on to a final portion of the show. Pagan's got a little message for everyone.
Oh, yes. I do have a bit of an announcement, everybody. Louis, I'm glad you're sitting down. Poor Louis.
What did I do?
I am both saddened and also like content enough to have been in the position recently to have a chat with Dan and of course the Couch Soup team. And I am stepping away from the Replayer podcast after almost 3 years. I am happy to be a guest on the show in the future, and I'm happy to always come back. And Dan and I will always be making content forever because we're besties. So it's not like the end of this, but it is the end of me hosting the Repair podcast or being a part or affiliated with this podcast, which is sad, but there's good reason. And it has been a wonderful few years, and I just have to give full credit where credit is due. And that's to Dan, who's been my co-host, but he's been running the show for a very, very long time now. I've been pretty much emotionally checked out for a while on the show with other things. And then I got busier, and it's just been a pretty emotional kind of weird journey to get here. But Dan has like taken the full reins and credit of the show for a very, very long time. And he deserves full credit for his content and for this show. And this is his show. And it was like a come to Jesus moment for me where I was like, Dan should really just have this show. It's just Dan's show. So like I say, I'm no longer going to be a host or producing, I guess, on this podcast, but I am happy to have had the 3 years that I've had, and it's been wonderful. And it's been a lot of memories and a lot of milestones, and there's been sad times and good times, and it's just been great. And like Dan should just take the full credit that he needs on.
Yeah, I like your words and your notes of heated moments and hilarious ones as well. Like
truth. It's true. We got very heated. Elden Ring should have accessibility issues. I'm just kidding. We won't get
Don't go there. Last of Us.
I was gonna say Last of Us 2. Last of Us 2. Anybody?
Yeah. Exactly. And of course, like we've gone through like a lot, and we wanted to try and have the goal of being recognized by the Retro Replay / Couch Soup channel at the time. And of course, I have Drew on the show. The incredible Couch Soup team has been on here. We've made so many wonderful friends, and we're all now creating for the channel Couch Soup. And of course, we've also had Nolan North on the show, which has just been such a big highlight and such a big milestone achievement for us. And it has been an incredible journey. And I just want to wish Dan and everyone on the podcast every success. And like I said, you will never get rid of me. But this is like Dan's show, and Dad should have full credit for everything that he's done for the show since ages. So yeah. Essentially, it's like I'm leaving, but not really. But I'm just stepping away from host and being this, and that'll be Dan's show. And if he wants to rebrand or do whatever you want, Dan, you're more than welcome to. And I'm sure you're going to have a chat about that or figure that out. It also will not change anything about how we are associated with Couch Soup or how Dan is associated with Couch Soup. On the podcast. It will still be hosted on their website and everything. Nothing really changes, except I will just take off
this isn't a Troy situation where like, is it over?
No.
Like,
it's not
when
a
Troy
not
left
a
and people were
Troy
like,
leaving.
Are you guys going to stop talking about Retro Replay on the Replayer podcast now? Like, why?
Yeah, why would we do that? No, it's definitely not one of those moments. And like I said, I'm super happy to come back on any topic that I think I would have good value to weigh in on. But like I said,
I'm also, it's hard to tell, but I'm a little moist in the eyes. It is
don't be sad. Moist in the eyes. How dare you, sir?
My face is leaking slightly, but it does sadden me to know that Pagan is going to step away. But I wish her all the best, and I will always keep an empty host chair here for you with your name on it.
Oh, don't.
Regardless of what happens and where this podcast goes moving forward. Yeah, it's been an honor.
No, stop.
I'm making you moist in the eyes. How dare you?
I'm not allowed to talk right now.
It's just I got something in both eyes.
You choking up, Louis?
I mean, yeah, I've said it. Shut up. I'm going to do it. I've said it before that you are two of the first people that have welcomed me into the community. First being Pagan. And I will always, I know, right?
Darn right, Dan. You were a split second after. Don't worry.
Like literally in the same minute. But yeah, it was Pagan. And you were also my first ever Twitch stream I ever saw. And immediately you were like, "Oh my God, it's Louis!" I was like, "How the fuck do you remember me? I'm just some nobody on a weekly. Hey guys, fart joke. Yeah." So I'm very, very honored to call you my friend. Extremely, and very happy for everything that we have shared together. And I know you're going to be doing well wherever the hell you go, because Jesus Christ, you can't touch anything without kicking ass. So thank you for all of it. And of course, we're not going to stop talking. Of course, I'm going to keep on bothering you. One of these days, I'm going to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just in case anyone missed it or is confused, Pagan is not leaving Couch Soup in any form or fashion.
Right. Yeah. My affiliation with Couch Soup is still continuing. I'm still going to be producing and working on shows there. And still working behind as community manager. Like I'm still affiliated with Couch Soup fully, and I'm just taking on more responsibilities outside of, I guess, of Couch Soup and of the podcast. And at some point, like stuff just has to, like, I have to give up on a lot of stuff. And I have to make time for family, and family is so important. And especially recently with a lot of personal stuff that's going on, like I just need to make time so that I don't feel overwhelmed in stuff. And then there's just a whole bunch of things that I had to stop doing. And effectively, this is one of them. But like I said, I'm super happy to keep coming on. And Being a guest in the future. Yeah, absolutely. Not for like another year. Like, let's give it time. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm happy to come back. Yeah, happy to come back at any time to discuss something that I think that I'd have really good opportunity to weigh on.
And this isn't one of those Troy Nolan situations. Me and Pagan are good. We're not arguing.
No, there's no fights. There were no fists thrown. Although maybe we should drop rumors.
Allegedly.
Yeah, maybe we should drop rumors though. Maybe that would get more attention.
There was too many people assuming that I'm actually Adam, and Adam got really upset.
Right.
So
yeah. Fair.
I told him Adam doesn't exist. So anyways,
yeah, that's it.
Pagan and I are going to continue working together and creating content, and I'm going to hold her to promises that she's going to bring me on to her future projects.
Yeah.
As I will for
I don't think
her
I promised anything, bro. Let's just get that.
You will.
No, I'm just kidding. But I'm happy to involve anybody in future content that I am making, and I'm hopefully going to get something produced at some point. So
hi
there.
Hi.
No, you're gonna be busy writing Ghost Stabbies. I feel like you've forgotten, Louis. Yeah, maybe just don't forget. That's my first job as your producer. Stop forgetting to write about Ghost Stabbies. Okay.
Got it. Okay.
We need it done.
But I will continue on with the Replayer podcast. We will see what shape and direction it takes. That is all the things I'm going to figure out in the time to come, with or without Pagan. It's probably not much is going to change, but I've got some ideas. Yeah. And as usual, that's the Replayer podcast. You can reach out to us. Let us know how sad you are that Pagan's leaving, and you can tell me to fuck off. And
no, don't tell Dan to fuck off. Dan's like the brains of this whole operation. I'm just here being like, I've never played a video game. Like, that's just me. Like,
that was you on the second episode of the podcast when you're like, I don't know if I'm doing this right. I've never played video games.
Yeah, I don't know what a video game is. What's a controller? What's the next
What is this voice you're doing?
I don't know.
All right. But
it's a podcast. Yeah.
She's doing her own impression of herself.
That's how I feel like I sound.
Anyways,
it's
thank
accurate,
you, Pagan,
right?
for your years of dedicated service to this podcast. Thank you, Louis, for sharing it with us.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a really great achievement, and I'm so happy to have at least almost 3 years under the belt of this show as co-host and co-producer, and I'm super happy.
And I will take all the credit for your success.
Absolutely fine.
Because it is definitely a good chunk of this podcast is where we both are now where we are. So
absolutely it is. And like, it's great. It's been so good. And like I said, it's not the last time we'll be making content. We're making content for the future. I'm still going to be making content as well. I'm hopefully going to try and get back into contributing for the website as well with written articles. So yeah.
All right.
Who knows?
And it's with a heavy heart that I say game over.
Oh.
And farewell.
Bye, buddy.
For now.
I love you so much. Thank you. I love you so much. Goodbye. Make sure to like and subscribe. I love you so much. Bye.
Do it for Pagan.
Do it for me, guys.
Smash that like button for Pagan.
Smash it, or the Ghost Stabbies will get you.